biggest lie in sleep medicine is that sleep apnea is only about an obstruction and a narrowing of an airway. There is so much more to this condition, and nutritional deficiencies with this are a huge contributing factor. Because at the core, sleep apnea is a metabolic issue. Yes, you will have obstructions, you will have blockages in your airways, you will have pauses in breathing, you will have all that in obstructive sleep apnea. And part of what drives that is your cellular machinery, and that involves your nutrients. So when you don't know what nutrients are missing, then your cellular machinery is not working correctly, and this causes a domino effect of problems that makes sleep apnea worse. And when you're not aware of this, then it either leaves you waking up gasping for air or having to use a CPAP mask and be stuck on that and be this tired, boring, exhausted version of you who is falling short in so many areas of your life, and you just want to be able to have your energy back so you can get back to who you really are. But that only starts when you have the whole truth and nothing but that. So that's what I want to share with you here. I'm Dr. Dylan Peckus, and I want to be able to walk you through one of the biggest factors that was essential for me overcoming sleep apnea and so many of the patients we've had the honor of helping in their journey. So, without much further ado here, I want to be able to describe in terms of when we're looking at, okay, there's some cool diagrams in terms of, inflammation, and also we're going to talk about some nutrients here. But before we even get there, we need to understand what really is going on with sleep apnea here, because I'm not saying what your doctor told you, what my doctor told me at the time. I'm not saying that's completely wrong. I'm just saying it is missing key important details. Okay? And when you don't have that, then it just makes it incredibly hard to be able to paint a picture of the real solution here. Okay? So I'm just getting my little whiteboard drawing pad here to be able to demonstrate for you all if you're watching. So essentially, when we're talking about sleep apnea, okay, really quickly, okay, obstructive sleep apnea, that is, all right? Got an airway here. This is someone laying down in bed at night, right? You got your chin, you got your mouth, really big mouth, I guess, and you got your head here, right? The rest of the head. You have your tongue, really important here. Just kind of shade that in. And essentially, as we know it, air tries to go in here, right? And then it gets blocked. But how does that happen? Okay? Because when they first noticed sleep apnea, okay, back in the early 1900s, they observed two things with patients at night. Okay? It was hyperventilating and then a pause in breathing. Okay? Now, how are those connected? Because traditional treatments of sleep apnea only address the pause in breathing, which is a smart thing to do. But is that really fixing it? Really just managing it or controlling it? Okay, so we have to understand what's going on here, right? So what happens? Okay, you inhale, right? And remember that an inhale is your lungs expanding and then pulling air in, okay? And as that happens with sleep apnea, because remember it said it's hyperventilating, breathing too fast, okay? Inhale too fast. This will, just like a vacuum, pull your tongue back here, okay? And this is how all obstructive sleep apnea works. If you have a deviated septum, right? If you have enlarged adenoids, if you already have a bigger tongue, if you have a thicker neck, maybe you have some extra weight on here that's pushing down on your airway, it's all the same thing. It is your body is breathing too fast, right? At night, inhaling too fast. And if things are already narrow, then your body has to breathe faster and faster to get your body the same amount of air. And as it does that, it has to breathe faster and faster. And just like a vacuum, it will create this suction force that brings back of the tongue to the back of the airway. You can't breathe until your nervous system startles you, wakes you up, and says, hey, breathe or you're going to die. Okay? That's what's going on. And as it's going on, all the damage, all the oxidative stress, that's what continues to drive this here. Because when we think about why are we overbreathing, yes, it may start with some anatomical or mechanical issue, but what tells us to breathe? Okay, well, that all happens. Very crude illustration here. going to be in your brain stem here. Okay, this is the kind of attached to the. I guess this will be a better anatomical position here. It's the brain stem. Okay, your brain stem is where your breathing centers are. Okay, this gets damaged, you're not breathing well. Now, here's the thing: when you start to breathe too fast at night, this actually will create a habit, okay? Or you can think of it as a efficient neural pathway, okay? But essentially, your body gets into this habit of always breathing faster, okay? It becomes this like, oh, okay, this is how we do things. Now, you already experienced this, okay? Think about this. Top of the stairs. A lot of people with sleep apnea, they're out of breath, whether they feel like they're in shape or out of shape, right? Or a little bit of exercise, breathing pretty fast, or even frequent yawning or sighing during the day that is happening even if you're not tired. All because the brainstem is overactive, okay, because of this breathing at night. Now, here's where things compile and why so many people stay stuck with sleep apnea and just feeling like they're a fraction of themselves, falling short at work, frustrating, just doing everything they can just to get by and do the minimum. Okay, and that's when those ideas of really bringing things to where they want to be, whether it's certain projects at work or being able just to be engaged and present with the people you love in the afternoon, gets stolen away from you because of this mechanism. So this mechanism is, again, when you have sleep apnea, you have a pause in breathing, you have this massive inflammation that goes throughout your entire body, okay? Because there's a big swing in oxygen, okay? Oxygen goes down and then way up, okay? It's the swing in oxygen, okay? Swing in O2. This is the damaging thing, okay? Everybody knows this. Anyone who knows anything about sleep or breathing would agree on this, okay? There's a big swing in oxygen, okay? And when this happens, you will have what I talked about earlier, inflammation will take over, right? That is essentially when your cells are on fire because of damage, okay, from these swings of oxygen that happen, okay? Inflammation, guess what that does? Well, let me ask you this. When your body is more active, say you have inflammation, let's say you have the flu or the cold, right? Is it harder to breathe? Are you breathing more? What's your breathing like? More difficult, okay? Part of that's going to be from the narrowing of airways, yes, but a big driver of that's also inflammation, okay? And you may have signs of inflammation right now, whether it's joint aches and pains, whether it's brain fog even on days you don't feel like you're too tired, right? Indigestion is another big sign of inflammation, very common in many people, because when inflammation is all over the place, affects water in your gut and then it affects how you eliminate. That's how inflammation is going to manifest, okay? Now, the reason this is important, the more inflammation you have, guess what this does, okay? Watch this. It is then going to tell the brainstem to breathe more, okay? That's what happens. Inflammation will stimulate more breathing, okay? Which will then cause more apneas, which will then cause more inflammation, which will then cause more breathing. And you see where I'm going with this. This is why so many people, when they feel like they're going to be stuck like this forever, is a very real fear. But here's the thing. All you have to do is break this cycle. That's all you have to do. You just need to break this inflammation, breathing. Okay? That's it. Pretty easy. Okay, well, easy in concept, okay? Your individual factors are going to be important here. But you can absolutely break this cycle. You're breathing more easily at night, and you're not having these events happen. You're getting deeper sleep. And when you get deeper sleep, the beautiful thing is, then your body is able to heal itself. Okay? Don't mean to make this like woo woo, right? But like everybody knows, your body recovers a lot better when you get better sleep. Okay? Just kind of a fact of life. Okay? Pretty simple. You look at studies, people who aren't sleeping well, it's going to make every disease worse. People are sleeping way better, less disease. And that's because your body is able to maintain and repair itself way better. All right? So, how do you break this cycle? I'm glad you asked. Okay, this gets into our handy dandy cool diagrams that we have over here, and this is why watching this is really, really important. But if you're just listening, don't worry, I have your back too. So, inflammation, okay, is just another symptom of a problem underneath. We're going very, very deep here. All right. And what that problem is in your mitochondria. That's the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, that's what's producing energy, your mitochondria here. And when there are all these different insults, okay, like sleep apnea, swings in oxygen, okay, but also many other things, right? Whether it's aging, environmental exposures, missing nutrients, that's what we're getting towards, right? This will cause mitochondria to dysfunction. And then as a result, we can skip a lot of the fancy science things here, but essentially you will have inflammation be triggered. Okay? Mitochondria stop working, inflammation goes up. Bad mitochondria, high inflammation. High inflammation, breathing faster, sleep apnea continues. Okay? So, how do you think you get out of this? Is it a magical pill or it's make your mitochondria better, help lower, and that will help lower inflammation and then stop triggering your brainstem to overbreathe. That's how you get out of this mess. Okay, well, it's a part of it. Okay, because we still haven't talked about fixing that neural pattern of overbreathing here, but this will remove the trigger for overbreathing. This is super, super essential. This is why just doing breathing exercises is not enough. Okay, you need to be able to improve the mitochondria to lower inflammation. Okay, and that's why when more recent research, when they're looking at, okay, what are some things in the cell that we can see time and time again, right? Whether it's a study in the US, whether it's a study from overseas in Japan or, in Germany, many, many different studies from these universities where they're looking very deeply at the cells of hundreds of thousands of people with sleep apnea, and they're finding mitochondria are not working very well. Okay? This is the key. Okay? Now, mitochondria not working well, a big part of that is just not having the machinery needed to produce energy, okay? Because your mitochondria, fuel should come in like glucose from food, right? Or fat from food, comes in, and then it uses different enzymes and vitamins and minerals to make energy. But if that doesn't work, then it's going to create free radicals that then trigger inflammation. Okay? Just like if your engine is missing something, like you don't have the motor oil, you haven't changed that in forever. Okay? I'm guilty. I'm way behind on that one. But nonetheless, if I were to go out and drive that, there may be more exhaust or more difficulty with that engine in working properly here. Same thing with your mitochondria. So you just need a little oil change. Okay? Simple as that. So that's when we're talking about. Let me zoom out a little tiny bit. That was literally a 1% zoom out, but I guess it works. Let's go with it. You need to be able to replace a lot of these nutrients, all these different pathways here. Okay, maybe zoom out a little bit more. There we go. So when we're looking at this, and there's going to be a ton of different nutrients, and these are just micronutrients here. Also, macronutrients are critically, critically important. We'll talk about that next, because I'm not telling you to go out and go get a omega-3 vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, E, selenium, lycopene, olive oil, resveratrol. You don't need to take this big concoction of all these things. Because here's the thing. The breakdown in your machinery is going to be very specific to you. So maybe you need more omega-3, or maybe you need more lycopene. It's going to be very dependent on how else your mitochondria are falling apart. But nonetheless, when you don't have the right nutrients, okay, then what happens? Inflammation, okay, and then you're breathing poorly, and then you're stuck with sleep apnea. So it goes together, okay? Missing nutrients, bad mitochondria, inflammation, overbreathing, stage triggered, and you keep sucking the tongue into the back of the airway. Keep pulling that into there, okay? Just like a suction cup, just like a vacuum, all right? So this is why sleep apnea is a nutritional deficiency. Okay? Yes, you're still not breathing in the middle of the night. Yes, anatomy is an issue, right? And there's missing nutrients that are making the problem this downward spiral. Okay? Now, I mean, you could legitimately just take this list here and just go to town on all these nutrients here. But is that going to be the best way? It might not be, okay? Because again, if you just add all these things in, you can actually call it, like if I added it in a ton of motor oil into my engine, or wherever you put that, that can cause some problems. So it's getting the right amount, what's right for you, and being able to work with someone to identify what that is. Now, what I can tell you across the board and help you make some good decisions on here today is, again, your mitochondria, just like an engine. All these things are little gears that allow it to turn. Okay, but if you're giving it a certain fuel, you'll actually turn some of these gears faster and deplete yourself of these nutrients. Okay, so let me give you one of the number one steps that I'll give people. Okay, let me see if I can navigate here. Okay, so the reason I'm showing you this is because when you have high glycemic index carbohydrates, this will actually tax your mitochondria and deplete it of nutrients even further. Okay? Because I could tell you pour in, these ingredients, but like that's the equivalent of pouring in water into a plant pot that has holes along the bottom and the water just goes all the way through. It doesn't matter. Okay? Because if you continue to have bad biochemistry that is caused by these high glycemic carbs, right? We'll talk about that in a second. That will deplete your mitochondria and perpetuate this whole problem. Okay? So, when we're doing this, so high glycemic means any sort of carbohydrate that is likely to give you a carb coma. Let's just keep it super simple. What that means is you eat something like rice, okay? Your insulin goes really high because that's very fast acting glucose. Whereas if you eat something over here on the left that has carbohydrates, what's something that would actually here, okay? I don't like any of these low. I mean, I looked at this chart thoroughly. This is like the least annoying one. But let's just go with broccoli. Okay. Really fun. And I'm not saying broccoli, just don't put that in your CPAP machine. That won't really help anyone. But when you eat these lower glycemic carbs, okay, like for instance, sweet potato. There we go. Something I actually like. That's going to be lower glycemic than, say, a white potato. Okay. So the lower glycemic you can get, this will help your mitochondria not stress them out. Because think about, like, if you have a fast burning fuel like a fire, right? Like if you put in a bunch of like pine needles or kindling or tinder, it burns up really quickly and leaves a lot of smoke. Same thing happens inside of your mitochondria. So this is your time to decide. Okay, what are the high glycemic foods in your life? Okay, think of all the carbs you eat, and if that's a harrowing thought, just think of all the foods you eat throughout the day, whether it's a bagel, okay? And if you're a certain bagel eater, we'll talk about your bagel down the road, and that one person will know who they are. But nonetheless, start to pick out what are the high glycemic carbs in your life, okay? And all you have to do, you don't have to cut them all out, okay? Because a lot of times when we go for gold, without having the right guidance and support, we end up just like, cutting out all the carbs and having a perfect diet on like, the first week of the month. And then like the next week, we're like back to, being the bagel queen or king, okay? Uh, that sounds like an interesting title to hold, right? So I just want you to pick out one meal where you have high glycemic carbs in, okay? Again, this could be breakfast with waffles, pancakes, cereal, right? Right? Oatmeal, it's less than desirable. Or even like dinner, right? Rice, boiled potatoes. Or lunch, white bread. Just pick something, okay? Start small, okay? You want to set the bar humbly low for what you do, but you want to really ratchet up and increase your decision and action taking because that's what's going to get you there. It's not so much the big plan, it's really rapid execution of smaller and smaller steps. Okay. Not the steps don't get smaller. I mean, like building blocks. Think of building blocks. Okay. So with this, just think of the one thing, decide on what that is, and when you're going to cut it out. Okay. You can replace it. You can get rid of it. You can like swap out. You can either go, I think potatoes is a good option, right? Like go from white potato to sweet potato. It could be as simple as that. What are you going to cut out? What are you going to replace it with? Decide on what that is. Okay. Because that will start to open up. Because let's say you do breakfast first, then you do lunch the next week, and so on and so forth. There, you could try it all at once if you really want to, and if you fall on your butt and aren't consistent with it, just told you so. But if you can do that, great. But nonetheless, it's about making decisions on doing something. So make that for you right now. Don't make this just another idle video or something you listen to. Actually take the action step, okay? Because I know sometimes these can get boring, these episodes can, right? But that's not the main use I want you to get from them in terms of helping your sleep, just falling asleep while listening to them. Actually taking the action steps that we have laid out here, implementing it, and seeing how it does, and continuing from there. So just be an action taker, my friend. No matter how small, it's a great action to take. So do that for yourself, decide, make the change, make a progression as you need to, and then just get to it. It's that simple. And that will start to stop the depletion of nutrients from your mitochondria. And guess what? When you actually go from high glycemic to low glycemic, you look back at that chart, you will actually start to, lo and behold, get a lot of these nutrients back in. Funny how that works. Thanks, nature and food. You're great. Okay. So that's really the main thing here. Okay. And again, that vitamin list, if you want to just zoom in and see that for the people at home. I'm not going to read all 13 of those. Sorry. You should have watched the video. So that is something so important that you can do for yourself. Okay. Because there's a lot of other reasons in terms of when you reduce high glycemic carbs, that you have a lot of benefit. Because also when you have your insulin high, it's also going to lower your melatonin and then also hurt your sleep once again. Now, just some road trips you may sort of find, or hazards, not road trips, I guess a road bump on your road trip, is you may cut all these things out, and that's great, right? Or you replace them, that's awesome. But also, like, these may be things that, I mean, no one should really have. Like, fructose, orange juice, probably not appropriate. Here, lentils, I just don't like, okay? But, like, you want to be able to have your nutrition tailored to you, okay? Because when it's not, it becomes very hard to stick to someone else's diet, and then you just kind of hit a wall, and then you're back to your old habits, old results, not sleeping well, and just not living well. So when you're able to have that really dialed in for yourself, brings everything back into what you need to be at. Okay. So that is in terms of, your big action step there. And if you want to be able to take more action or more watching, I mean, that's good enough. You can do that. You just stop watching right now. It's absolutely fine. Now, you want to even take a deeper dive, okay? Because I'm never sure, because obviously this content is on multiple platforms. So not sure if this is the 15th episode or like the first episode you ever watched or listened to. But if you want to be able to take a deep dive into the fundamentals, really go above and beyond, dive deeper into the mitochondria, learn more about sleep apnea and how to fix it, then go to ochnow.com/SA freedom. That is our free video series. Actually, it's 3 payments of 000. It's free. Okay, no email required either. ochnow.com/SA freedom. And that'll help you just really understand more, apply more. Now, if you're someone who is just, I mean, you're done with this, okay, and you're like, oh, these are some fun ideas that sparked my insights and actions here, and you just want to fix it, okay? You just want to be back in a place where you have the energy to really do all the things that you enjoy in your life again, right? Because it's not really deciding to eat a certain way. It's not deciding to have a certain routine, right? It's deciding to be who you are in your life, deciding to be that empowered, engaged version of you again. So whether it's your partner, your kids, looking at yourself in the mirror and being able to know, like, this is the real me and I'm living my life in a way that's not limited by this condition. And if that's who you must be, again, then you can go ahead, go to ochnow.com/talk. Okay, that's our free 45-minute evaluation call where we talk about your issues, what your goals are, and how to get you from point A to point B. Okay? We can help. We'll walk you through all those details, but if not, we will point you, steer you to whatever is going to best serve your needs that we uncover in that discussion. So go to ochnow.com/talk, fill out a form, pick your day and time. It's that simple. So thanks for watching, and whether you watch another one or speak to you soon, take care.